Back to the Kudlow Report. I'm Larry Kudlow. President Obama continues his campaign-style efforts today to prod Congress to approve portions of his $450 billion jobs bill, urging Republicans to, quote, put country before party. Well, but isn't the real truth that Obama's jobs bill is already dead in the water? Well, let's talk. We're joined now by House Budget Committee members. Mr. Paul Tonko is Democrat from New York, and Mr. Mick Mulvaney is Republican from South Carolina. Ms. Tonko, do you believe the President actually sincerely believed he could get this jobs bill through, raising taxes, infrastructure bank that no one wants, and more spending? Do you believe this was a legitimate exercise at day one?
Well, I think it's very legitimate because of the drive to produce jobs. I think it's so important, Larry, to understand that jobs will solve the deficit situation. Unemployment is driving that deficit situation, and the President knows there are investments in America that are required. We need to put people back to work. We need to do that through infrastructure improvements for a 21st century response, and we also need to make certain that our educators, our first-line responders, our firefighters and police officers are out there on the streets protecting America's public. These are good jobs, and I think it grows the middle class, and it builds a confidence factor for the economy.
No question. But, Mr. Mulvaney, let me ask you this. I mean, there's no question that Ms. Tonko is right. More jobs would lower unemployment. There's no question. That's a tautology. But my point is this. If President Obama were sincere about this, why did he go right into the Republican gut from day one, insulting the GOP on tax hikes, insulting, millionaires and billionaires, embracing class warfare, and making no bones about it? In other words, I'm asking, was this a campaign stunt? It was never really designed to help the economy or the jobless, was it?
You've put it about as candidly as I've heard it expressed. When I sat and watched the presentation of the jobs bill in that joint session, the immediate impression I got was that this was the first campaign speech of the 2012 presidential election. The next couple of days I spent reading the actual document itself, and there's some things in there that conservatives could live with. There's some good rules about how to pay subcontractors faster, changing 3% withholding rules. There's some good things in the bill that you could go down and say, okay, I might be able to support this. The very day I was reading that, I saw the president on television say, it's take it or leave it. It's all or nothing. This is not an a la carte menu. That's not how you get stuff done in Washington, D.C. It just reaffirmed exactly what you said was, this is a political ploy designed to preserve his job, not create American jobs.
I mean, Mr. Tonko, I know you're right. We need more jobs, and that's going to heal the unemployment rate. I understand. They'll also heal the budget deficit. I get that completely. But I'm just saying, in terms of ways and means, I don't understand. Why would the president go out of his way to insult Republicans, to insult by going for the 1% versus the 99%, by defending the occupiers and the protesters? I'm really talking left-wing politics here, Mr. Tonko. That, to me, doomed any chance at all of some of Mr. Mulvaney's or other constructive proposals. He poisoned the well, did he not?
Well, Larry, I think what you have here is a big, bold, and balanced approach. And the president has been balanced. There are things that upset both caucuses and both houses. So I think that, you're dwelling on some of the differences that might impact the extreme right. But let's make certain here, there has been class warfare. The middle class has been attacked for quite a while now. They have been taking it on the chin. And we're talking about fairness here. We need to share the burden. There's going to be pain here for everyone. And I think it's important to recognize that the middle class needs to be strengthened with its purchasing power. Some of the deficit that we have today that we're dealing with was driven by billionaire tax cuts for which we totally borrowed.
But you know what, Mr.
And that is bad economic policy.
The idea that we're going to have to share in some tough measures, I agree with you, sir. How's that? I'm going to agree with you on this. But here's my point.
Thank you, Larry.
If the president is insulting, let's say for argument's sake, I'm not in favor of higher tax rates. You know that. I'm a Reagan supply center. But let me just put that aside. Suppose I agreed with you that somehow or the other we were going to have to raise a lot of revenues in some kind of budget deal or jobs deal. Suppose I agreed with you. Why would I want to insult the very portions of the population and their political representatives to get that done? I'd want to coddle them, bring them along, nurture them. I wouldn't take this far-left approach that Obama has, insulting them every step of the way. That, Mr. Tonko, is my biggest problem. Even if I agree with Obama, I wouldn't do it the way he did it, and the way he's done it has caused it to backfire.
Well, I think if you recognize the injustice that is part of the tax burden, that may be offensive to some if you're pointing out the facts. But certainly by sharing that with the public so that they understand that they've been paying a far greater share. When the percentage of their income going towards federal tax responsibility has grown so exponentially, all while we've witnessed the top 1% or 2% not really sharing that heavy percentage, I don't think it's
Larry, can I jump in on that one?
Mr. Mulvaney, I'll give you the last word. I was hoping to get to the veterans measures, which might make some sense, but go ahead, Mick.
It's sort of hard to know where to start, but even on the very last point, the top 1% made 20% of the income last year. They paid 40% of the taxes. We already have the most progressive tax system in the developed world. We're not going to fix this problem by robbing from the rich to give to the poor. We should be focusing on things that we can agree on. The House has passed measures that are part of the president's jobs bill, but they lay dormant in the Senate. In fact, there's 20 bills over there right now that the president was serious about creating jobs. He could be telling the Democrats in the Senate to pass those bills.
All right.
But instead he's out campaigning.
We're flat out of time. Gentlemen, you're great. I appreciate it very much. Ms. Tonko and Mr. Mulvaney, thank you for coming on the Kudlow Report. Now we go to Washington's partisan